52 Ford. No motor training in this one because we're gonna take the cab and we're gonna put it on that. Pulling the 52 up to the garage, tear it apart one last time. Sounds pretty cool. Coming out of the stack. So yeah, what we're gonna do now is we're actually gonna pull it up to the building and we're gonna take the box off of it one last time. So we have to do some adjustments on the suspension. By the end of this weekend, we're gonna have this thing dang near done. Well, so we got everything pretty much test fitted. Pete's checking it out to make sure we did it right. We pulled the box back off and we're gonna go ahead and finalize the rear suspension and the exhaust system. We're welding up the pipes to go up inside of the stacks. Should be pretty cool once it's done. Pete the cat. Oh, that's Pete the killer cat. He actually just took a bird out a second ago and left it laying in my driveway. So this is what we came up with for our homemade box. Started with some flat sheet metal. Put a 45-degree bend on the top and a 90-degree bend on the bottom to give it a little bit of extra strength. Like the factory had it curled over into a round tube, we're actually going to take and weld a piece of round tubing along the top rail, and then we're going to come here with the stake side, and that's probably where we're going to mount the tail lights to. Not sure exactly what we're going to do about the tailgate yet. More worried about just getting the front portion here sealed up and welded on so that way we can put the box back on the truck. He took chain and welded it solid, and this is actually the gauges. If I can get the plastic out of there. It's a full digital panel, so he'll have all of his gauges with this chain around it, and then this obviously is a tinted piece of plastic. But that'll be really cool when we get that mounted on the dash. So these are the 40 amp relays that they send with the compressor. However, the wire isn't good for 40 amps. These things melt. If you're ever gonna get one of these air suspension systems and it comes with one of these relays, you are way further ahead to go ahead and get yourself one of these solenoid type relays. These are for like RVs and they're a continuous on off type deal. You'll never overheat one of these. You're not going to have any problems melting. The compressor will actually run better because it won't be starved for energy due to the small wires on these relays. So I never use these. I always upgrade. But this is the compressor system that we have set up here. I got all my wiring done for the compressors, with the exception hooking up the main power feed and then the switch. The plumbing's done back here. We're going to run a single hose out from here, go underneath the cab, which will mount up to this solenoid block in here. We have the exhaust going out and under the hood so that the air release will be out there. This is going to be our inline port. We have sensors for all the different positions, including the tank pressure. And then these are going to be our output lines that go to all the wheels. So should be really simple setup and work great. Besides that, my next task is also to get the cooling fan wired in there, which we don't have much room for, but kind of give you an overview where the box is at right now. The bottom, we flipped it over and welded the bottom side of the panel to the side to make sure it was good and solid. Put this front panel in with square tubing. Put some panels here so you can't see underneath the box when it's on there, and gave it a quick coat of paint to kind of protect it a little bit before we put it on the truck. All right, we're getting pretty far here. Got the air suspension all hooked up, wired, connected to the block. We got the box back on it. We're starting to put the pipes on. So here we are, getting super close. And what is Roger's most important thing to worry about? His train horns. For our bumper modification, what we did was we took 6 inches out of the bumper on both sides. And we're gonna get this front bumper figured out how we're gonna make it work. So we got pretty far today. Bumpers are mounted. Sitting up pretty close to where we think ride height's going to be. Obviously, we'll see how well it handles at this height. Rear bumper's mounted. The hitch is welded and mounted directly into the frame. We've dropped these lower mounts out of 2x3 steel to hold the bumper on. The air suspension should be 100% with the exception of the main switch wiring, which is what my next task is to be. Figure out the rest of the wires. We have a digital gauge cluster that's going on the dash that I have to get wired in. We have exhaust cutout switch that needs to be wired in. The LED headlight switch needs to be wired in. I still have to do the neutral safety and reverse switches on the shifter, although we do have the shifter actually on there. It's an old black powder gun that the barrel's tapped to fit on top of the ratchet shifter. Alright, so for the wiring diagram, instead of actually just giving me a sheet and telling me what each one of the wires does, they make you read it out in a paragraph and go through individually and start with each wire and go through and hook them up one by one. There's no actual wiring diagram to go off of, which I would prefer to have a wiring diagram, but this is what I got. It's 12 o'clock. I got 90% of the wiring done. However, I ran into a snag. This is my dimmer wire. This is the brake warning wire. This is the speedometer. That's all I have left to hook up. But my fuse, well, my ignition 12-volt fuse for the dash, as soon as I turn the key on, it pops. So I did a little looking around, and what I found out is when he mounted this to the dashboard, I can show you under here, that little blue thing sticking down right where the light's at right there, that's the voltage adjuster for the voltage gauge, and I'm pretty sure it's making contact with the frame of the dashboard. And so as soon as the dash turns on, it flashes for a second and pops the 5 amp inline fuse. So I'm pretty sure we're gonna have to take this out and drill that hole bigger, so that way it doesn't make contact on the back of the circuit board. So that's kind of sucky. However, I did manage to get just about all the wiring done. I've got the air suspension all wired in. I got all the other switches mounted on the dash with the exception of the line locks, because we're not sure what we're going to do with this one yet. So I got pretty far, but we're definitely going to have to take the dash back off to try and fix that one spot. Hopefully that's all that's wrong with it, but that's the most logical thing I can think, and the only place that it could make contact, because he has a piece of rubber cut to make sure that it was insulated, but the little spot that he cut through in the back isn't big enough. So we'll have to get that taken care of tomorrow. We got some LED taillights installed and wired. Flasher is ordered, and hopefully I'll have that soon to make them actually flash, because right now they just stay on. Brake pedal switch is what I'm working on next. I have to weld a bracket to catch my brake pedal switch to turn the brake lights on and off. So I got that all set up. I just gotta get the welder over here. I got the line locks here on a flip switch with a little indicator to let him know that it's on. This is his exhaust dumps. Headlights are wired normal. Turn signals all work. The only thing we don't have is the wipers are actually still vacuum operated, and we haven't done anything with that to put like a, I'm not sure if I can put an electric motor in it or not. I have to look into it. Sounds pretty good. He didn't tighten up the bumper. Brake lights work. He's not even making it out of the driveway, but he made it to the end of the driveway. And if we don't have to push him, that's a successful first test drive. You didn't tighten your bumper. You didn't tighten the bumper. You didn't tighten the bumper.
What are you talking about? Oh, that's what's rattling.
I thought you did. Yeah, that's your noise. There it goes on its maiden voyage. Oh. Well, a year and a half in the works, and it actually drove all the way to East Dubuque. No problems. So, pretty exciting. Got a pretty good crowd for the fact that it's a cloudy day today. So one more car show night left. Actually turned out to be a pretty damn nice night. Yeah, I guess we never adjusted or even looked at your headlights. Looks pretty cool. Just got back from East Dubuque. We managed to take this there for its first test drive. He didn't really have too many complaints about it. Says it rides a little stiff, which it is running about 100 pounds in the front bags. And the rear, there's a shock that seems to be sticking. Might have to look at that. But other than that, he said it ran really good. Didn't really get on it. Didn't test the line locks.